you for dialing in and your interest in this webinar. I think it's an important topic, and I'm glad you do too. So we'll start up. The title is Essential Patterns of Mature Agile Leadership, and I don't mean to imply that anyone on the phone looks like or is similar to any of the photos, either of the two photos. So clearly you're not a child on the left or a very mature individual on the right, but most of us in our Agile leadership maturity fall somewhere hopefully in between. I'm closer to the picture on the right, but I'm not. That is not me, for anyone who's wondering. As far as introduction goes, version 1 is an ALM, an Agile Lifecycle Management tool provider, relatively popular, along with Rally and several other tools. And version 1 does a service for us in that they do an annual survey that I think is quite valuable, and they do the survey and they make the results available publicly every year, and they're in the middle of doing their 2014 survey now, I think. Part of the results of that is they talk about adoption and transformation, Agile adoption and transformation, and maturity factors. And in the 2011 survey, and I just pulled the numbers from that, but you can see this progressing year over year, is barriers to further. There was a top 5 of barriers to further Agile adoption. In the top 5, 3 of them I think are related to leadership, and I just wanted to highlight that. And that's really the sweet spot of why I'm talking to you today and why I pulled this workshop together, is that I think leadership is incredibly important for Agile transformation. And the number one thing is 52% has an inhibitor of organizational culture. Number 3, 39% general resistance to change or change resistance. And then the third area is management support or lack thereof. All of these are resistance factors, failure factors that version 1 sees as identified by the survey participants, the responders, as challenges for them. And I really want to target these things. I think leadership can play a significant part in improving all 3 and then improving the transformation side of Agile adoption. Another introductory concept, so that's the why. Why I think leadership is incredibly important from a transformation perspective. And I'll use the term transformation. You can think in terms of adoption. You can use the term assimilation or something. But how do we move from whatever approaches you've historically used to Agile approaches? And that's a change, and that's a transformation. And it's pretty fundamental. It's not just a set of tactics, but it's also a mindset, and we'll talk about that. And I think good leaders, solid leaders, if they know where and how, can really play a fundamental part in that. Another fundamental thing to think about before we dive into the patterns is this notion of doing Agile versus being Agile. And if you've been in the Agile community for very long at all, you might have heard this. And so doing Agile practices or doing Agile tactics are sort of, implementing the tactics, implementing the simple stuff or the easy stuff. The being Agile side of things would be the next level of maturity. So not only are you doing something or are you applying a tactic, but you're applying it, from a point of view of being a master. You're applying it from the point of view of having experience and knowing what you're doing. In order to illustrate the point, I'll use the daily stand-up. Almost every organization on the planet who says that they're Agile does daily stand-ups. It's a very common tactic. So that would be a doing Agile practice. We're having a daily stand-up. It's 15 minutes. We invite people. We answer the 3 questions. What did we do yesterday? What do we plan on doing today? Is there anything in our way? Or some variation of those 3 questions. But we're going through the motions of having a stand-up, and I don't mean that in a bad way. We're having stand-ups, and that's all good. Now, I think a mature team would, in a being Agile context, would have powerful stand-ups. So what would that look like? That would look like the team is talking not to the Scrum Master but to themselves. The team is focused on the sprint goal rather than a status report. The team gets to the stand-up on time. The team self-facilitates and makes sure that people aren't getting too windy, and they end in 15 minutes. the team takes things offline or actions after the stand-up, so that they're having active meetings about actions that came out of the daily stand-up. The daily stand-up, if you took the Scrum Master out of the stand-up, the same stand-up, the same quality of a stand-up would happen. So the team really understands how to implement it, how to facilitate it, and it doesn't matter who's there. They're doing it really well, and they're engaged in it. It's a self-directed team. It's their stand-up, focused on getting work done, etc. If someone needs help, the team naturally, if someone says in their talking about their work, if someone implies that they're behind or they need help, there's this natural evolution within the team, or this natural reaching out where the team will help that person, and people are comfortable asking for help, and people are comfortable offering help. And it's all related to the sprint goal and delivering the highest priority work and the highest value work first. And the team works in priority order, etc. They sort of swarm. You can hear it in the stand-up that they're swarming around the work. It's not serial activity, but it's swarming activity. So I hope I give you, that's just one tactic where you can look at the doing Agile versus the being Agile, and you can see a distinct difference. I'm not going to brainstorm here, but really what we're going to be talking about is I think leadership plays a fundamental part in moving the teams. I think it's really easy to be, or relatively easy to be doing Agile. I think it's incredibly hard for teams to mature along this continuum so that they have it in their DNA. They understand the practices, and they understand the why behind it. They understand the results that they're trying to achieve. And this is a place where leadership can really play this difference in guiding the teams from doing to being. And it's not a journey that you're going to, please don't look at this as a journey you're going to complete in a year or 6 months. That's another, I think, misnomer or misunderstanding that a lot of Agile teams have. I've been applying Agile methods for maybe 15 years or more. I don't look at myself as being done with it. I'm learning new things every day. I'm forcing myself to reflect and to be inquisitive and to be curious and to try new things and to change and to continuously improve. And I think good Agile teams do that as well. So it's a journey. It's not a target. And leadership, I think leadership really helps with that. A lot of Agile teams plateau. I see fairly commonly teams will adopt it, and in a year or two they'll achieve some sense of maturity, but then they'll plateau or they'll start even regressing because it's really hard to drive yourself, I think, towards continuous improvement. And that's a place where solid servant leadership can really make a difference. So that's just setting the stage a little bit. The patterns. Today we're going to go through, this is a subset of a larger half-day workshop where I probably have 20 to 25 patterns. I've cherry-picked a set of 10 of them that I think are, I don't think they're any more valuable or less valuable than the others, but they're a nice complementary set of patterns that we can talk about in about an hour. And so that's what we're going to go through now, is we're going to go through a pattern-by-pattern basis. I would encourage folks to ask questions in the comment boxes or the chat boxes as we go. I'm going to try to end a little early so we can get to some questions if they're there. I would enjoy that part. I want to try to make the workshop a little bit interactive at the end. So I'll probably not cut it short, but I'll probably end a little early to make sure we have some time for Q&A. But we'll see if you guys respond to that. So here's the 10 patterns. I'm not going to read them. We'll just dive into them. So the first one is leading with what I just sort of abbreviate here to VMGT, and that would be vision and mission and goals, and then transparency. I